The 43-day government shutdown is finally over. We officially broke the record. So now, who won and who lost? You're hearing politicians in DC taking victory laps, but here's the real question. Maybe it's you who lost. We're going to find out why. While they were fighting over who won in Washington, this political game was racking up a massive hidden price tag, and we're all about to pay for it, whether we realize it or not. Before we get into the what, let's talk about the why. Why do these fights get so bad that they'd rather shut down the whole government? In one word, debt. The US national debt is over $38 trillion. It's a number so big, it's almost meaningless. Here's a way to understand it. For fiscal year 2025, the government spent $1.8 trillion more than it brought in from taxes. That $1.8 trillion deficit just gets piled onto the $38 trillion mountain of debt. In fact, for the first time ever, the interest we're paying on that debt topped $1 trillion. It's one of our biggest government expenses, right behind Social Security. The shutdown is a symptom of a massive fundamental disagreement on how to fix that. Republicans, including President Trump, generally argue the problem is spending. They look at programs and say, we have to cut this, we can't afford it. Democrats generally argue the problem is revenue and priorities. They say we can't just cut programs that people rely on, we need to find money elsewhere, like raising taxes on corporations or the very wealthy. So when it's time to pass a budget, it's not just a disagreement, it's a philosophical war over the country's checkbook. And when no one blinks, they just shut the whole thing down. Now, how does the government shutdown actually work? The process itself is almost technical. The government's budget deadline is October 1st, they always miss it. So, they usually pass a continuing resolution, which is just a fancy way of saying, let's just keep spending what we spent last month and we'll really figure it out later. A shutdown happens when they can't even agree on that. And in the US, there's a super strict law from the 1800s that literally makes it illegal for the government to spend money it hasn't budgeted, so the lights go off. This entire 43-day mess was a perfect example of that debt fight. The one thing they got stuck on was Obamacare, or more specifically the subsidies for it. Here's the deal. The enhanced subsidies for Obamacare, which were extended back in 2022, are set to expire on December 31st. This is a hard deadline. The Democrats' position was, we must extend these subsidies. If we don't, millions of people will see their health insurance costs go through the roof. We won't pass a budget without it. The Republicans' position was, no, that was a temporary sale, and the sale is over. We are not funding it as part of this. We see it as wasteful spending that's adding to the debt. So total gridlock. A 43-day staring contest. Okay, so the shutdown just ended. How? They passed a temporary budget. And guess what's not in it? The Obamacare subsidies. This is why you're hearing President Trump claim a huge victory. And honestly, he's not wrong. The Republicans basically just held their breath longer. They didn't budge. They didn't even really negotiate. A few moderate Democrats in the Senate got nervous about the shutdown dragging on, and they caved. They voted to pass the temporary budget without the subsidies. The deal they got is that the Senate will vote on the subsidies next month, but everyone in Washington knows that vote is designed to fail. The Republicans control the votes, so it's not going to pass. This is what's really frustrating to Democratic Party. Democrats just had a huge symbolic election win. Zoran Mamdani, who describes himself as a democratic socialist, just won the New York City mayor's race. This wasn't a normal, safe election. He ran on a platform of things like free city buses, city-owned grocery stores to lower costs, and a $30 minimum wage. Even in a Democratic-leaning city, his win was a massive upset that showed a huge number of voters are energized and demanding big changes, not just business as usual. It was a clear signal of unhappiness with the current administration and the status quo. But the Democrats in DC, they couldn't seem to use that momentum, that clear leverage from voters. They just folded. It really feels like there's no clear leadership in that party right now. No one who can keep their team together for a big fight. The Republicans, on the other hand, stayed in a perfect line until the other side broke. But who cares about the political wins, right? Let's talk about the real cost. Why should you care if you don't work for the government and you don't use Obamacare? Oh, you should care. When a shutdown happens, the government divides all its employees into two groups. First, non-essential workers. These people are furloughed, which means you are sent home, you are not allowed to work, you are not getting paid. Your job just vanishes until the shutdown ends. The second group is essential. This sounds good, right? It's the worst possible label. It means you are legally required to show up to work, but you do not get a paycheck. Think about that. You have to work for free. Who's essential? Air traffic controllers. The people landing your plane, TSA agents, the people at airport security, FBI agents, border patrol, prison guards, the military. They all have to work for free. And after a few weeks of no paychecks, what happens? They have to pay rent. They have to buy groceries for their kids. So they started calling in sick, not just to protest, but because of stress and, needing to pay their rent. The news reports confirmed it. Controllers were driving for Uber and picking up side jobs just to buy groceries. So here's how it hit you. Travel chaos. With no controllers, 40 of the biggest airports in the country, think New York, Atlanta, LA, had to reduce flights. Over 10,000 flights were canceled in the last few weeks. More than 5 million passengers were delayed or had their travel disrupted. Maybe you were one of them, stuck in a terminal, all because of this. That's a huge hit to the economy, hundreds of millions of dollars a day. Now let's talk about the furloughed staff, the people sent home. This is the invisible damage that hits us all. Buying a house? Were you trying to buy a house in the last 43 days? Good luck. The federal employees who process government-backed FHA and VA loans? Furloughed. Your mortgage application, your closing paperwork? Frozen. Thousands of people probably had their home purchases fall right through, losing their dream home because an office in DC was closed. Starting a small business, the Small Business Administration, SBA loan office closed. Your dream of opening a shop or expanding your business? On hold. Your food safety? This one is scary. The FDA furloughed almost half its staff. That means for 43 days, routine food safety inspections at food processing plants just didn't happen, or they were severely delayed. It's a gamble we shouldn't have to take. Planning a trip? Want to go to a national park like Yellowstone or the Grand Canyon? Closed. The park rangers are furloughed. Want to get a passport for a trip abroad? The office is shut down. Your application is sitting in a pile in a dark room. Your 401k, the SEC, the agency that polices Wall Street for fraud, furloughed 91% of its staff. For 43 days, almost no one was watching. Long-term damage: the National Institutes of Health, NIH, freezes all that critical research on new drugs, cancer treatments, or, the next pandemic just stops. Scientists get locked out of their labs. Years of work, data, and experiments can be totally ruined. The last long shutdown in 2019 permanently erased $3 billion from our economy. It's just gone. This one was even longer. And this is where those other economic ideas like tariffs come in. The administration has used tariffs, which are taxes on goods from other countries, claiming they'll raise revenue. But that revenue is a drop in the bucket compared to the $1.8 trillion deficit. And those tariffs have a direct cost: inflation. When we tax imported goods, the companies selling them just raise the price, so we pay for it at the store. This shutdown just adds to that economic instability. So, the shutdown's over, but the reason for it, the Obamacare fight, wasn't solved. It just got kicked to next month. And if those subsidies don't get extended in December, it's going to hit all of us first. For the 20+ million people on that insurance, the CBO estimates about 2 million will just drop their insurance completely. For the rest, their premiums are expected to more than double. One nonpartisan study found the average enrollee would pay an extra $1,016 per year for the exact same plan. But okay, what if you're not on Obamacare? What if you get great insurance from your job? Why should you care? Because of what I call the healthcare boomerang. It works like this. Those 2 million people without insurance, they don't stop getting sick, they just stop going to the doctor for a checkup. Instead, they wait until it's a life-threatening emergency, and then they go to the emergency room, the most expensive place on earth to get care. When they can't pay the $50,000 bill, who does? The hospital eats the cost. But hospitals aren't charities. To make up that money, they raise their prices on everything else. That aspirin, that x-ray, that hospital bed. Who pays those new higher prices? Your insurance company. And when your insurance company's costs go up, what do? They raise your premiums. Even the good ones we get from work. It's a boomerang. It hits them first and then it comes swinging right back and hits all of us in the wallet. So, when you look at all this, it's hard not to feel like we have a serious leadership problem in both parties. On the one hand, the Democrats just caved. They had what they said was a non-negotiable issue, people's health care, and after 43 days, they negotiated it away for a promise of a vote that will almost certainly fail. It makes them look weak and disorganized. On the other hand, the Republicans, led by Trump, were so unwilling to compromise that they held the entire country hostage over this one issue. They were willing to let 10,000 flights be canceled and let billions vanish from the economy just to win. That's not negotiating, that's just a raw power play. Both sides seem more focused on winning the fight and blaming the other side than on actually governing. And for the rest of us, it doesn't matter who wins in DC. When they do this, we all lose. We lose money, we lose stability, and we lose a little more faith that they can get anything done. Anyway, that's just my take. Let me know what you think in the comments. Did you get hit by this? Did your travel get messed up? Let's talk about it.